Good evening, everybody. It's Coach Smith coming to you from my humble abode. I'm going to give this a couple seconds here to allow some individuals to join in on the feed. And let me verify my audio just to make sure that we are good. But in the meantime, if you are just coming into the feed, give me a thumbs up. Make sure you can hear me okay. Stop by the comments section and say hello so I can see who's coming into the feed here. And then we'll get into essentially the nitty gritty of starting to get back into the weekly sessions, talking about some of the amazing bowling balls coming out of the brands of Brunswick, and specifically this week from the Hammer brand. So looks like we got some individual popping in right now. Patrick, how we doing? Glad to see you on the feed. Again, if you're all coming in, give me a thumbs up. Give me a hey, hello. Let me know who's in the chat here so we can, get a little personal with one another here as we get to talk about another exciting release here within the Hammer brand. So haven't been on in about 2 weeks. We took last week off, essentially just to kind of prime and get ready for all the bowling balls we knew were going to get announced right at Bowl Expo. And now we're going to have weeks and weeks of content to kind of go through and talk about. So it looks like Chad Eckroth, good to see you, my friend. Corey, what's going on, man? Rick Rules joining the chat. Chris, how we doing? Glad to see everybody kind of jumping on the feed here. It looks like we're up to almost 30 people in here already. Kevin, what's going on? Glad you're stopping back in on the program here. I think we got some exciting stuff to talk about over the next few weeks here. So looks like we got pretty many people on the feed. We're about 2 minutes in, and we'll essentially kind of get into the content of the show, which is, coming back and doing one of the Talk About It segments. And on Tuesdays, we'll be introducing essentially some new balls for the 7 various brands that we represent. We will have some special guests on from time to time as they are available. This week was a little tough with individuals getting back from Bowl Expo and just kind of getting back into the flow of their work week. So I'm going to roll with this one solo. But the one I'm going to talk about today is pretty. It's kind of a piece that I've been waiting to see within the Hammer brand, and I think it's going to see a little mix of old and new, if you will, in a combination that's going to give us kind of a distinctly different shape than we've seen sometime out of the Hammer brand. If you are a fan of PBA bowling, you may have already gotten a sneak peek of seeing this ball if you were following along the PBA King of the Lanes, which was at BoPo up in Maine. Got to see Parker Bone III throw this ball for a little bit during his reign as the king. And during some of his title defense, he kind of was going back and forth between throwing a little bit of the Scorpion. He was throwing a Brunswick Zenith Pearl for some of the other ones. And it just gave him a pretty good 1-2 punch, basically in that building, trying to get it through the pins. So first and foremost, if you look at the bottom of the screen, we usually like to go over the numbers before we get into kind of the content of the ball. But I mean, the Hammer Scorpion Hybrid is what we refer to as kind of a medium RG, almost slightly higher, 2.520 with a differential of 0.43. So, with that combination, you're expecting more of a, kind of a mid-lane look with the bowling ball, but with plenty of differential to get the bowling ball to come around a corner. Now, one of the unique things that I'm going to flash an image up here on the next screen that I thought was pretty important to go over with individuals is so often we hear about cover and core combinations that are put together. Generally, sometimes you'll have a core from another ball with a cover from another ball that are kind of coming together and getting married up. And this one is somewhat to that extent where we're going to use the LED core. But this is substantially different in the use of the LED core just as a base. So I'm going to flash the screen up here so you can see it. And, I wanted to do kind of a comparison. Hopefully everybody can see it pretty good. But one of the big things we hear right off the bat is, and I'll flash it up there a couple of times, is this is a modified of the LED core with an outer cover that was added to it. So when you look at the Purple Hammer, on the screen up here of the traditional LED core you're used to on a purple hammer. Obviously, you had that one, but the difference with that LED core without the outer cover on it is it was yielding a substantially higher overall RG. Even though a purple hammer is extremely early, it's extremely early based on the cover stock of that bowling ball being of a urethane base. Because if we were to put the LED core the way it is right now and put it into this Scorpion with the cover onto this bowling ball, that bowling ball would be a super high RG bowling ball and would just get down the lane forever. It would basically give you what I refer to as a unplayable almost over under, because if you look at the Purple Hammer's RG value is like 2.69 or something astronomically high like that. If we were to wrap that with a resin cover stock, that ball would just go forever. It doesn't matter how much surface you would hit. So we took that LED core with the outer covering, and basically what it did is it ended up lowering the RG on it, but then it increased the overall differential. When you looked at a Purple Hammer had a much lower differential, and that's basically because it's trying to smooth out and control the front part of the lane, where this Scorpion is taking that core and utilizing it more for a mid-lane reaction. So we always like to look back too, and we see, sometimes when we have cover combinations that are put together. So they took the LED core, they put the outer cover on it, and then what they did is they went back and they basically brought back the Simtex hybrid cover stock. And for any of the fans out there, hammerheads, from years past, two of the balls which were very popular that came on, that was the same cover that was on the Fierce Phobia and also the Dark Legend. So two very, very popular balls within the lines. When you look back at the Fierce Phobia, again, that ball was super mid lane, very responsive off the spot. And then obviously you're going into the Dark. Sorry, tripping over my words here for a second. Going into the Dark Legend, the Dark Legend had that cover, but then it was wrapped with, an asymmetrical, gas mask core that was in the inside of it. So substantially different types of ball motions. So what we really did here is I think you're going to see a addition to the line where this Scorpion's going to kind of fit in nicely below some of the ever popular asymmetrical shapes that we have introduced into the line. So, right now we have some really special pieces when it comes to the Obsession Tour and looking at, the Widow 2.0. And then when you're getting down into the symmetrical side of things, you have kind of the Web Tour hybrid that's in there. You have the Fugitive Solid that's been in the line for quite some time. And then you kind of go down into, the Raw line with, the Pearl and the hybrid and the solid cover stock that are available. So this Scorpion kind of fits in that realm of really, in my opinion, where, we're transitioning a lot from the asymmetrical side of the bag and we're starting to get into the symmetrics. And it fills a gap or kind of one of the voids that are within there. So I know from seeing this ball go down the lane, from with Parker throwing it and then seeing a couple others that actually gotten a chance to actually throw it down the lane, it takes very well to surface adjustments. The box finish on it is not overly shiny, but with anything else, and even though it's a hybrid cover stock, I generally will go after and hit that thing with a pad. The surface prep on this one's 500, 1,000, 2,000. But I wouldn't be afraid to really go in there and I'll probably throw this one at probably 1,000, let it lane shine a little bit and kind of wake up that cover as much as possible, which I do with pretty much any one of the hybrid cover stocks across the brands. So again, super exciting release that's coming out. I think it really continues to kind of define the bag of ball motion from top to bottom within the hammer line. And I think it is one that tournament players are going to like a lot when they're searching for something that maybe they want a little different overall shape, as opposed to kind of going from an Obsession Tour down to like a Web Tour hybrid, which have the tour covers on them. This one being, slightly bigger cover, a little more teeth into the body of the lane. So with that being said, I think the cool thing about it is this is really redefining the map of motion and the classic shapes and combining again yet an ever popular core with a really proven cover on it. That's going to be pretty versatile for a lot of players. So for individuals that are on the feed, let's fire away some of those questions. And obviously, we'll try to do what we can to stick to kind of questions about the Scorpion, maybe some things that you're trying to essentially, fill voids in your bag. If you have questions about some of the other ones that have been announced, I'll touch upon those briefly. But if we can, we'll try to stick to the Hammer brand here and specific to the Scorpion. So got a lot of people that are jumping on this feed. So fire those questions away. I'm going to be on here answering those here for a little while and trying to give you a definitive answer for what you can expect. So let's see what's coming through here. Looks like Chris is trying to get, I don't know if Neil Vitale is actually on here. Yes, Chris, the Fierce Phobia was a very, very good ball. The original Phobia was very good as well. Got a lot of people on this feed. I know people got questions. Let's see here. What do you got here, Chris? I do believe this would fit great down the line under the Obsession Tour. I know this would be a good gap to fill. Yeah, I mean, if you look at the Hammer brand, I mean, I think one of the things that I see pretty quickly is when Hopkinsville kind of went to the wayside and we started to rebuild the arsenal of the Hammer brands through the Brunswick label. It was kind of trying to pick and choose some of the best areas we could get balls into the pipeline. When you look at the high performance stuff in the Hammer lines, we've obviously have the big balls. We have the Obsession, the Redemption Hybrid still kind of in production, and then the Obsession Tours, and then kind of your uppers. You're going to have, you have your Black Widow 2.0. If you need something a little bit cleaner, you have a WebMB, which is in there, which was an elongated asymmetrical version of the Web series. Another one that's going to be in here, traditional one, is the Web Pearls coming. Same time as the Scorpion's kind of being released. That gives us another motion that was kind of missing from that upper to mid price point one. And I would think that the next ones that we may see in some of the lines may come down to, maybe another really strong symmetrical solid. I would think is probably in the pipeline for us at some point. While the Raw is a very good solid, and you have a Web Tour hybrid in there. I mean, the Fugitive Solid's been on the market for quite some time. Still a very, very good piece. But I think again, it's just kind of redefining this line and kind of making any of the little bit of holes that we may have had in a line. It's really exciting to me. I mean, obviously I have the opportunity for myself to throw all 7 brands, but I really do try to throw my main brand, which is obviously the Hammer brand. That's, who sponsors me. And, having an ability to have an entirely full bag and then just kind of have a one-off from the other companies is a really good process and a good way to attack the lanes and really know my shapes from top to bottom without having to tweak the layout so much. So, all right, Christine Weber, another one coming through here. Let's try to get one up on the screen here. Christine Weber, how does the reaction compare to the WebMB? Well, the WebMB it's kind of a unique ball in itself. The WebMB is a really, really clean bowling ball, especially if the box finish was not touched. I mean, the WebMB, let me even look it up here. I'm not 100% sure what the surface, the top of that surface was on that. But the WebMB was basically an asymmetrical version of the popular Web series. And that one, I believe, is 500, 1000, and it had compound on it. Now, you're going to hear something pretty close to that. Now, I said about a Simtex hybrid. The WebMB had that Simtex Any Pearl on it, I believe, which, was in that kind of that same base family, if you will, of the Simtex cover. But it had pearl additives in it, and you can see within the MB has the mic in it. So that ball is super, super clean, and it is relatively angular. What you're going to see out of this Scorpion, which is going to be a little bit differently, is it's not going to be as fast to roll forward at the end of the pattern. It's going to be a little more defined, a little more rounded off in the body of the lane. And the difference there being is that this is a symmetrical chord bowling ball versus the MB, which is an asymmetrical ball. So that asymmetrical ball, even though the MB didn't have a very high intermediate diff, it still was very quick when it encountered friction and wanted to change directions and go forward. The Scorpion's going to be a little more defined, a little roll a little more through that zone, tumble a little more, if you will. So it's going to be, a big enough difference. So let's say you don't have a lot of bowling balls in the bag, that it's going to define and give a different angle of attack. If you were to keep box finish to box finish on these two bowling balls, you can expect to see the Scorpion is probably going to be a little earlier in overall shape than an MB. And again, just not as quick. So not as defined, not as sharp off the spot. It's just going to be a little more rounded. What else do we got here? Better mid lane and not as clean as a Strata Hybrid. No, it is not going to be as clean as a Strata Hybrid. It looks like here's somebody that's won a few tournaments lately, and she's probably in the house. In fact, I know she's in the house. She's upstairs. All right. So when would someone go to this ball? Start with it or transition to it once the lanes break down? Pretty good question. I mean, maybe a question that is kind of broad. It really depends what you're bowling on. I would say if you're bowling in a standard league environment, for somebody like myself, I would tend to kind of probably migrate to these balls as I move left a little bit. It really depends. Most of the time, a lot of your players are going to start on a bigger bowling ball, something with a little more motor. And then as the lanes break down and they transition, they may go into a ball like this to kind of smooth the mid lane out. Now, if you're in a situation where you have a center which is super high friction, generally you may not start with this bowling ball just for the fact that you may be going after those bigger bowling balls with more surface to try to get them to burn a little bit and to try to kind of smooth the wet dry. Or you go to more of maybe a tour cover, especially if we're talking about the Hammer brands, something smoother like an Obsession Tour or a Web Tour Hybrid, maybe a better cup of tea for those. But again, not everybody is the same. So a bowling ball like this for me, while it may not be a true benchmark, it definitely has numbers that are going to match up to help you kind of read the lane. Now, being that it's a hybrid cover stock, again, usually with hybrids, depending on the surface, it's probably a transition piece in between. You may have started with a solid cover stock. You may go to a hybrid. Maybe you end your night on a pearl, based on trying to control the front to backs. And as you migrate more left, you may need a bowling ball to be a little more clean. So I'd say, Carrie, this is probably for me. This is probably a second ball out of the bag or first. It's probably not going to be the last ball of the night for me. Okay. We got another one here. This one's coming through from, looks like this one is coming. This is from the YouTube page. Okay, so just pre-ordered one. No thumb bowler. How do you think this ball will do on your typical league shot? First ball of the bag or later during transition? Again, no thumb bowler. So obviously the biggest thing for you that I would say is just like whether you're two-handed or you're no thumb one-handed, I think the biggest thing that I see, just to give you some feedback, is to really make sure, if you're not local to me, that you're working with a pro shop that really makes sure that you get your access point correct. Too many times what I see with individuals with no thumb or two-handed is bowling balls are drilled with a generic pap, and there's two vastly different ways. I mean, generally a two-handed bowler or a no thumb bowler is going to have a pap. A lot of times it's about 5.5 to the right. But generic ones, inch and a half down is pretty common. But to give an idea, I had a client that came in, a younger kid that came in about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks, and got him on the lanes, and every ball in his bag thumped the finger holes like you wouldn't believe. So, till I pulled a pap off of his ball. The kid's 2.5 inches up. So he's very inverted towards the fingers. We drilled him a new ball, got it off of the finger holes, and now he has to learn how to bowl again because all his bowling balls actually hook now. They don't rumble the holes. To answer your question about a typical house shot, first ball out of the bag, one thing, if you are no-handed or no-handed, if you're a no-thumb bowler, it could be a first ball out of the bag, no problem. Generally, the rev rates are higher with no thumb. And we tend a lot of times to migrate those players with symmetrical pieces because they really don't need the extra core help from the ASIMs very often unless you're going to bowl in some volume. So this is going to be an earlier ball out of your bag. I would definitely make sure, don't go overly aggressive on the pin to pap. Being the style that you're throwing, especially the rev rate's high, maybe about a 5-inch pin for you. And basically, from response time, maybe keep the valve angle around like 40 or 45. All right, this is a long one. I don't know if this will all fit on here. So yep, it does. Just cuts my face off, but it's okay. We don't need to look at me. All right, so let's see. Jeff, do you know if there are any plans to bring back more of the hammer balls that were available at the time Brunswick took over? For example, Black Widow Pink, Sauce Vibes. One other question, why does the Japanese market get access to some of the most beautiful Black Widow balls while the U.S. market does not hardly anything? I mean, the last decent Black Widow Pearl that came was the Black Widow Gold. These overseas sell big time. One would think Hammer would start putting it. So, I mean, it's a kind of a loaded question on that, okay? So first and foremost, from the hammer perspective, okay, and anything else. I mean, if we had a proven core in the past, covers, things like that, obviously you're going to see some of those coming back as we can develop them. Okay, so yes, we obtained a lot of the lines and everything from Hopkinsville, and they've been moved down into our facility, specifically, like for instance, Purple Hammers, same lines, same chemicals, same everything. The thing is that when they were acquired, none of the bowling balls were acquired. So it was just basically the company. So the pipeline of bowling balls basically was sold to distributors. It wasn't acquired by Brunswick. So they basically had acquired the 4 name brands and had to go to the drawing board and bring stuff to market. Okay. Do I think you're going to see some, additional nameplates that we've seen in the past? I do. I would have to think at some point, and again, I'm not spilling the beans on anything because I don't have all the inside scoop to that. But at some point, we're probably going to see Vibes. It's such a huge name that was in the lines. Obviously, Black Widow is not going anywhere. I mean, with the success of the 2.0 that came out, that ball was incredible. It's still incredible. I think you're going to see those sticking around. And you're going to see those nameplates continue to be part of the line. And as we are able to take some of the chemistry and some of the other really good things that are done on the Brunswick side of it with, dynamic core and dot technology and things like that, and starting to bring all that stuff together, I think you're going to see some even more unique bowling balls and offerings coming out of the Hammer brands and the other 6. We're pushing the envelope right now, and across the board just with technology that's coming out. From the market of overseas, there's really no secret to it. I mean, those bowling balls are made stateside, okay, and they're going over there and to market. And I know they bring a big dollar when they come back this way. And I mean, at the end of the day, vibrant, bright color bowling balls like that. There's some really cool stuff that comes out. Some of the stuff that you see that's released is private label stuff as well. So there is times, individuals like, Bowler's Mart, Bowler Supply, even here in New York, they'll get runs of specific bowling balls that are made just for them. So it's kind of like a private label. And that's why they bring in higher dollars. I mean, I know it's been kind of crazy here lately with the Purple Widow and the Red Widow and the stuff like that. And there's been so many, names that go over there, but it's all part of the process to how we bring things to market, because we're bringing things to market based on what we think will sell. They try to stuff that's in the market now, like you're seeing get released. I mean, this is stuff that's been in the pipeline and worked on for the past year. So it's hard to say. I mean, you can't dilute the market too much with too many of the color variations that you see, but I agree. There's some pretty cool ones that go overseas, but just a little insight on that. It's just color. Color will dictate a little bit when it comes to shape, when it comes to surface preparations and how the ball rolls. But at the end of the day, the covers are pretty much the same. The cores are the inside of the same. So why anybody's paying $400 for a ball is crazy to me. But to each his own. Sorry, getting a little dry there. But to each his own. That's something you're into, great. But it's to me, I'd rather just have the ones that are available here stateside, or better yet, maybe you can find somebody over in the Japanese market or somewhere else that's willing to maybe think the ones we have over here are gorgeous, and maybe you can kind of work out a deal to get them going back and forth. Just a thought. I've seen some people do that before. So they obtain some of the color ones over there, and then in return, they got some that we have over here that they can't get. So I think it's a two-way street. All right, no problem on that, Big Carm 15. Hopefully that information helps you out. What else we got here? We still got about 20, 25 people in the feed here yet. What other additional questions can I answer about? Namely, one, the Scorpion. Maybe you have some additional questions on that. Again, we are going to do our best. We will have somebody throwing this on Thursday, namely probably Carrie. I am going to get some holes in this, have her throw it over at the center. And you'll actually get a sneak peek of some of the renovations that have gone on over there. We're almost done with the upgrades to the backdrops and everything that are going on there. Frames are up. We're just getting ready to wrap the masking units in some backdrops for our simulators and stuff that are going in, and our projectors. So some pretty cool times happening over at the center as well. I will do my best to possibly be throwing this. I've been battling a little bit of a severe tennis elbow. It's not from tennis and it's not from bowling. It's from golf. So I should probably stop playing that sport, but I love it too much. We got time for maybe one or two additional questions here before I cut the feed off here for the night. But it's good to be back on air here, answering as many questions as I can for everybody, and basically just going through here and discussing some of the really good products that are going to be coming through. One other thing to note, I did today, I did put up a post on the Pure Bowling page on Facebook. We are going to be bringing back our King/Queen of Pureit events. They're actually going to be on Wednesday nights over the summer here. Seems to be a good day with not a lot of leagues going on. It is very, very tight in terms of how many people can bowl. We're only going to cap it at 15 people on purpose. It is 100% prepay. That way somebody doesn't say they're coming and not show up, and then we don't end up with 15. So if you're interested in that, I think we had like 4 spots left or something. I just put it up a little bit ago. It could have filled up already after I check my phone here after this half hour, but it is something you're interested in doing. It's a cool little format. You just come in, bowl 3 games. We'll cut it down to 4 people, 4 versus 1, 2 versus 3. Pay out third, fourth. People bowl each other. We come up with the king or queen, and then when it comes into the consecutive weeks, we will we'll get an additional pot going for when somebody is defending their crown. And essentially, they'll have the choice if they want to bowl the main event or they just want to bowl for the king-queen match. So get the bowl on the wood, get the bowl on whatever I feel like putting out for that night. As you know, if you've been to my center, I don't really have a house pattern, if you will. We're changing the pattern up all the time. We like when individuals come into practice as they're trying to get better. We challenge them by putting out different patterns pretty much every day of the week. For them to kind of get on there, practice, kind of learn to adjust and kind of figure out what the lane's trying to tell them. So it's a good way to kind of challenge yourself by me basically not disclosing what you're bowling on. If you want to know, I'll definitely show it to you, but I just don't post it each day. You just come in and practice and see if you can figure the lane out, and it makes you a little sharper, understanding the moves that need to be made on any given night. What do you got here, Chad? Let's see here. We got another one that came in here. Actually, no, Chris, there is a thing called golf elbow, and that is not what I have. Golf elbow would be on the inside. Mine is tennis elbow. It's on the outside. How does the Scorpion motion differ from the Raw Hybrid? Raw Hybrid, definitely a different type of cover stock on that. The Raw Hybrid, in my opinion, is going to get down the lane a little further. When you're looking at the orange and black Raw Hybrid, which was introduced at the same time as the other ones, the difference on that is it's not quite as much differential, Chad. So the RG values I think are pretty close, because the Raw's like 2.537 or 2.54, somewhere around that. But the diff on that is a little lower. It's 0.38. So the overall amount that the bowling ball is going to kick once it encounters friction is what's going to be the change in dynamics between those two balls. So when you're looking at a Raw, even though it's the hybrid, that one is going to have a cover that's closer to, I think I would say maybe like the Rodman Pearl. Even though it's a hybrid cover stock, but it has the juice, which was also seen in like the Flawless. So that cover, even though it appears to be a little bit quicker, the overall diff is a little less. So it's not going to be quite as quick off friction or as much off friction as the Scorpion is. So kind of a bigger 1-2 punch there. But they are different enough. If you had both of them in your bag, and you're going to see distinctly different motions, even with the surface prep. Corey Kaler. Looking forward to seeing what Carrie and you see with the Scorpion doing in front, mid, and down lane motions. I'm really curious to actually see this one go down the lane as well too. Like, I was super pumped when, I heard we did something with the same core that was in the Purple Hammer, and we kind of modified it a little bit, because obviously the Purple Hammer is a special bowling ball. It's used the conditions we're bowling on nowadays. It's an important and integral piece. So it's definitely something that we need, and we use it all the time and on various pattern lengths. So to have something on here with that core being modified, but then in a reactive version, I'm really hoping to see some of the same characteristics, but really more in the front to back differences between the two pieces. And obviously the Purple Hammer being the earliest one in the bag, I want to see how this one kind of matches up against it. It'd be a good comparison. Maybe, we'll try to, have some Purple Hammers and throw them down the lanes kind of in the same realm, just so you can see the differences, just to really call out, look, this is the difference between a urethane ball and this is a reactive ball, and the difference between when we modify a core, so don't get hung up. It's not always identical. Release date for everyone on this one is July 16th, Chris. The same day that the Purple Hammers are becoming available. This one and the Web and the Hammerline, the Web Pearl, will also be on July 16th. So if it is something that you are interested in pre-ordering, they are live on the Pureit website. So you can go on those if you want to say, if you want it to make sure you have it the day it releases. The best thing you can do is go on there and pre-order it. That way it immediately comes to the shop, and on the day it releases, we will get it in line. I will tell you that July 16th, I should probably start sleeping now, because once that day hits, I am going to be on the press for roughly a month. Not really that much, but when you have basically 60 plus pre-orders on Purple Hammers coming in that day to get drilled, we're going to do them in the order they came in. So if it's something you want to do, get something pre-ordered, we'll get it in motion, get it in a line, try to get it in your hands as fast as we can. It looks like another one from YouTube coming through, Jared. How would you compare this to the Damn Good Verge? Really distinctly different balls. That Damn Good Verge is just a super strong cover on that bowling ball. the damn good verge is going to be overall is going to be just more responsive, have a lot more teeth, probably a little more through the pins. Like I said, you can do kind of apples to apples when it comes to motions. It really comes down to the base of those cover stocks and the surface prep of those. I think you're going to see, to a damn good verge, you're definitely going to see a little more length on it. But when you compare it with a hybrid cover stock, it's going to be a little quicker than a damn good verge, which is going to be, even though it's not necessarily early with how strong that cover is in a damn good verge. It's just, the damn good verge is more of a bigger overall sweeping continuous motion through the pins. Whereas obviously with a hybrid, even though this ball seems to tumble a little bit, it's going to be a little cleaner and it's going to be a little quicker, but not as much overall. Really excited to see the new web pearl. Yeah, Chad, I got web pearls. It may be what we go over next week. We'll see. We definitely, Carrie and I both have those sitting at the shop with holes in them. So I haven't got a chance to throw it yet. Carrie has not thrown it yet. But we are definitely might see some tournament action with those this weekend. So stay tuned on that one. They're pretty exciting because it's not the same as the web pearl you remember from Hopkinsville, but it's something comparable when it comes to kind of that same realm of motion. Terry Mize, purple ball. Of course you are. Terry hasn't moved since the Great Flood of '72. Master Splinter on the left-hand side. 7/16/21. Seems like a Steve Austin quote or something. I don't know. All right, gang. It is 37 minutes into the feed here. And I think it's a good time for us to kind of cut it off for the night. Hopefully I answered as many questions as I could. As always, if you think of one that comes afterwards, try and send me a message directly. I know people sometimes will put up another, message on this feed after it saves and it goes on, and I don't see those all the time. And then I get the nasty grams going, well, I guess you're not going to answer me. I didn't see it. I try to answer each and every single question that comes through. David, I just saw one pop through. I have a 2.0. Would I be wasting my money if I purchased the Obsession Tour? No, they are way different balls. The Obsession Tour to the 2.0, gas mask core versus the Obsession core in that tour cover. The 2.0 and the Obsession Tour are vastly different from one another. You will not be wasting your money between those two. It is a huge 1-2 combo, in my opinion. Obsession Tour, obviously, when you get it, it's pretty chirpy, just like the Widow 2.0 was. A little chirpy at first. Once the Obsession Tour, in my opinion, gets a little lane shine in it, the ball just gets better and better and better. For me, I'm always with the Obsession Tour. I'm able to make a little bit of steeper angles based on the core. Through the front part of the lane, it's responsive down lane. The Widow 2.0 with the gas mask core, it's just even though that core gets down the lane, it's still earlier for me. And the difference is in that cover stock, that ball is definitely more rounded for me than the Obsession Tour. So no, you're not wasting money, man. I think it's an awesome compliment. I don't. And I would tell people right off the bat if I thought there was a little bit of overlap within a brand. The only time you would run into overlap with a hammer brand is if you drilled, both of the raw hammers, like the pearls, right? If you drilled the one with the pink in it and the one with the blue in it, they're going to be on top of each other unless you completely different. But even at that, you got, but you go from a pearl to the hybrid to the solid cover stock, and they're distinctly different. So not really any overlap there. So by all means, David, if you don't have the Obsession Tour, you would probably kick yourself more in the ass if you don't drill one, because it's just that good. All right. I'm going to kill it for tonight. It was really nice to be back with everybody on the feed tonight. Tune in each and every week. Look for us on Thursday night. I will try my best to start doing some on Wednesdays. It's kind of a tough day for me to hop on feeds right now, just to do kind of, more of the Wisdom Wednesdays. But I'm only a message away. If you guys reach out to me on Facebook, I really do monitor Facebook questions that come through. I try to answer as much as I can. Just, please understand that I can't drop what I'm doing at all times to answer you. But I love growing a sport. I love talking about bowling. I love helping people. So by all means, ask those questions. I'll do my best to get back to you as fast as I can. Just like anything, it's kind of nice. This week is the first time the mask mandate's pretty much gone from Pennsylvania. A lot of the surrounding states are the same, but it's no different. Keep going out, support your local proprietors, your pro shops. Small business is huge. If you're sitting at home and you don't work, please go get a job, because I like to eat and I don't like waiting an hour and a half at restaurants. So please go in and let's do our part. Let's continue to grow the sport we love so much in the industry. Support small businesses that were hurt during the huge pandemic, and by all means, go out and buy yourself some hammer bowling balls. You will not be disappointed. And if there's anything I can answer for you, reach on out to me. So we will see you guys on Thursday night. Until then, everybody, have a good night. Bye now.